Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's fireside chat session with Ms. Uma Iyer, as she's generally known. Uma is, today's guest for fireside chat of the manufacturing sector of the All Ladies League. As many of you know and are fully aware, uh, Fireside Chat is one of the networking platforms we provide for women all across the world who are part of, the core industry, manufacturing segment, production industry, and things like that. So we invite guests with a lot of experience who have been there and done that in this industry. And we provide a great opportunity for aspiring leaders as well as women who are already part of the sector to learn and grow through this platform. So it's my great honor to introduce Uma. And before that, thank you, Uma. I think we reached out over LinkedIn and we worked together at Pfizer, and the memories are still very fresh in my mind. And I always learned a lot from you when you were part of the plant operations, quality operations. And thank you once again for joining the session. And it's my true honor to introduce you, Uma. So Uma is a biopharmaceutical consultant in the quality compliance space with technical and management expertise. Prior to consulting, Ms. Uma held positions as quality operations leader at Pfizer and Warner Lambert Company. She was responsible for managing all matters related to quality at multiple sites across the globe. This entailed confirming the right people were in the quality department at each manufacturing facility, carrying out succession planning, ensuring the robustness of the quality systems, certifying availability of products to patients, managing regulatory compliance, reviewing and endorsing decisions related to critical deviations, implementing electronic solutions for consistency in processes and access to data, and participating in leadership teams determining the direction and strategy for quality organization for the company. That is a lot of work, I think. Uma, I think you have delved very deeply into quality operations, and I can actually believe it because I've seen you in action in all of these roles. Her experience includes management of site manufacturing, sterile and non-sterile dosage forms, vaccines, the most talked about today, vaccines, Pfizer vaccine especially, and API, active pharma ingredients, across several time zones with varying regulatory rules and expectations, and spans countries in Asia such as China, Japan, Korea, Singapore, Indonesia, Taiwan, and India. Australia, Central and South America, such as Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, and Venezuela, countries in the Europe and in the US. Ms. Iyer holds a bachelor's and master's degree in pharmacy from the University of Bombay and a master's degree in management science from the New Jersey Institute of Technology. Prior to retirement from Pfizer, Ms. Iyer was a quality operations leader for Pfizer's emerging market sites and served a year as an remediation leader for the Pfizer site, coordinating the corrective actions rising from multiple regulatory audit commitments. Why am I not surprised? I have seen you in total action and I know what you're talking about in total. So, Uma, welcome you once again. And I really don't know where to start because I have introduced you from a very, very professional perspective. But I know that you are Namma Uru Ponne, you are from South India, you have a Kerala origin, and you also have a Tamil Nadu origin to say that that much. And can you talk about yourself a little bit more from a Nammavuru perspective? So because the listeners and the audience are all Nammavuru girls and boys as well. So please, talk about yourself, your personal side, and what you have to, share with the audience. Over to you, Uma.
Thank you, Rajini. It's my pleasure to be here with all of you. Good day to everybody. Uh, I don't know if we have only audience in India or elsewhere in the world. So good day to everybody. Yes, as Rajini said, I did grow up in Bombay. My parents are both from Kerala. northern part of Kerala, Palghat. So, it's a border between Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So my mother tongue is Tamil, but it is quite a bit polluted with Malayalam. So I speak a language that we, jokingly call Talayalam. So that's why I hesitate to speak in Tamil, because you probably would not understand half the words I'm saying. Okay. So, my goal today is to talk a little bit about myself, just a bit about myself, but talk to you about what the working women, men and women probably, I think Rajini said there are also men in the audience, quite likely, what working women and men experience in the workplace, and what are the important things to keep in mind for you to advance in your careers. Okay, so I do have some slides which I'm going to go through with you, and the slides are very wordy. I believe that Rajini will share the slide deck with you guys later on. So at this point, I want this to be sort of interactive as the situation will allow. But if you have questions and you want to ask them, please feel free to do so at the end of the session. Rajini, if that can be managed.
Yes, please. Yes.
So with that, I'm going to start. Um, so my advice is not something I followed throughout my career. I want to be very honest with you. These were things that I picked up along the way, and sometimes, you learn things the hard way. You make some mistakes, and somebody tells you that was inappropriate, that's not supposed to be done. And so, here is a collection of things that I think you ought to know, but something that you probably can benefit from my own experience. Okay. So, as Rajini said, I was born, in India, in Bombay, to some very conservative parents. Um, எதிர்த்து பேசாதே, பெரியவாளுக்கு நேரம் நின்னுட்டு, argue பண்ணாதே. அவ சொன்னதை, you don't talk back, you don't challenge your teachers, your elders, anybody in a position of authority. You just listen to them and do what you're told. So that was pretty much the rules in our house. So you can imagine never having the courage or even thinking there is an option to challenge. If your teacher made a mistake, you just don't say anything about it. We're all fallible, we're all human beings, we make mistakes, but you are not supposed to point it out. Okay. So I did graduate with a degree in pharmacy, bachelor's and master's from what used to be called UDCT. Now it has got a different name, a very prestigious institution in Bombay. Okay, the pharmacy school, the pharmacy program from Bombay is considered one of the topmost, at least at the time I was in pharmacy school. Right after I graduated with my master's degree, I got married and I moved to the US. So I had no opportunity to work in India. Even if I did want to, it was not an option for me. My parents were such that they said, girls don't have to go out and work, especially we are not in a situation where we need you to come home with a salary. We are able to provide for you, and you're not going to take the job away from somebody who needs the job. So that was the prevailing notion, and of course I didn't have an opportunity to work. Okay, so I came to the US, had two children. My daughter was 6 years, just about 6 years old, and my son was not quite 3 years old when I got my job with Warner Lambert Company. I started working in R&D, and the goal for me to start working was simply to say, I have this degree and I'm not doing anything with it. Let me see if I can get into the workplace. But very soon after that, a month after I started my first job at Warner Lambert Company, my husband lost his job. And it became clear that now I need the job. Before it was, oh, I'm going to work, and now I need the job. So this went on.
Yeah, if I can just interrupt for a second. So you said your husband lost his job, and how did you feel at that moment? Like, I just want to understand, how are your feelings? I mean, what was going on in your mind at that point in time? Yes, you grew up in a conservative family, and then landed up in the US. it's like two poles of a culture.
Yeah.
And how what was going on in your mind, and how did you handle that?
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure. You know, I said, "Oh my God, now I need this job. Now, if we don't have this salary, I don't know what is going to happen to us. I have two children by this time, you know." So you feel suddenly very responsible and also a tremendous amount of pressure. You know that you need to keep this job. You know,
Mhm.
and I will tell you a little bit more. And then and then my husband, he did find a job. And I don't want this to be about my husband losing his job, but I just want to give you a flavor for he had several jobs here and there, but most of them were not in New Jersey. Okay, so he had to go where the jobs were, and I stayed back in New Jersey with the children while working full time.
Mhm.
And then I also decided, okay, now I need to go get a PhD because I was working in R&D where, the degree counts for a lot. And I was going to college nighttime, working throughout the day, coming home, taking care of the children, cooking, cleaning, everything. And then one day when I was coming back from my laboratory, the labs were in the evening. It was about 11 o'clock at night. I was coming home and I said, "What am I doing? I'm
Mhm.
barely seeing my children. I don't even know what their needs and wants are. I'm working throughout the day. I go to college at night. And for what?" So it just dawned on me that I'm probably not being a good mother. I'm probably not being, I'm so exhausted that I'm not doing anything as I should. Everything I'm doing, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but it's not being done properly. So I said, I don't think I need to get this degree that badly. I will have to find my way within the company somehow to move up, but I'm not going to sacrifice my children's happiness and their need for me. I'm not going to do that. So I quit college. It was an admittance of failure. When I told my
Mhm.
parents that I dropped out, I felt ashamed,
Oh.
but then I
Mhm.
thought I did the right thing. Okay, so this is just to tell you that yeah, you do certain things. You can't try to do everything right. Maybe if you have the right support system at home, you can, but without that, you know, don't reach for too much. But at the same time, you need to know your limitations. Is what I want
Mhm.
to tell you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so enough about me. So let's talk about this All Ladies League. When Rajni and we talked about this, I was delighted that even when I was in India for a short assignment at the Chennai plant, um, when I interacted with Rajni, I realized that she's pretty committed to encouraging people to speak up, giving voice to people. And so when she mentioned this All Ladies League, I bought into it immediately. I said, yes, I'm committed to helping as many people as I can in whatever way I can. Okay, so I had never heard of it, but Rajini sent me a short presentation. I admire its goals, and I agree that there is a tremendous need for it. Okay, especially in countries like India. And I'm not just pointing out to India because I've worked in the US all my life, and I know that this is true of the Western nations as it is true of developing countries, that women
Mhm.
tend to get sidelined. Okay, even in movies, women tend to get, successful women tend to get portrayed as being vicious, as being, like, get
Rude.
everybody out of the way, and
No,
I
in
will
fact,
win.
Uma, in fact, in today's, soaps, the Tamil soap operas, the serials, as we popularly call it, 90% of the women are portrayed as villains, the real villains. And, and when you enter the home at around 7:30 in the evening, or even 8 o'clock, I will see my mother-in-law sitting in front of a TV where the women are either screaming or crying.
Yeah,
So there is absolutely the whole world has lost its positivity when it comes to women's emotions, I would say.
yeah, yeah. And people are happy seeing that kind of portrayal. right?
Yes.
And that is not true. I tell you, you know, and I don't want to talk, I said I won't talk much about myself, but I do want to tell you, no matter how high you move up the corporate ladder, your personality is your personality, okay? So I've had reasons to fire people. And there was one situation, I'm sitting in Mexico and I have to fire my quality leader in the plant in Mexico. By the time I finished telling him that I'm letting him go, I was crying and he was sitting there like a rock. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not cut out for this. I can't do this because all I can think about is him going to his wife and his children saying, I don't have a job. So I'm thinking, how is that going to feel for him? You know? So, and I had given him plenty of chances to improve, and he did not. And I told him that. But anyway, so the thing is that not all people who rise up in the corporate world are ruthless. They are not backstabbing people. You know, you do move up with your skill set, with your capabilities. Okay, you don't have to push people away for you to move on. So this is an important message for all of you.
Great. Yeah.
Okay, so I do want to give, it is important for women to have a voice in the workplace and not be just like, okay, you told me I have to do this, so I'm going to do this and nothing more. I'm not going to challenge you. That is not how you need to be. So I'm going to talk about three topics today. The first one is knowing yourself, and the second is differentiating between a job and a career. Okay. And the third is how do you hone your skills? How do you improve what you currently have? How do you acquire new skills? Okay. So, and I know Rajini said to slip into Tamil once in a while, but I'm going to try very hard. Okay. So when you talk about knowing yourself, it is self-assessment. First, most important is self-assessment. Do you know yourself? Well, do you know what your strengths are? Do you
Uma,
know?
when you're talking about it, there is a very famous MGR song which you will relate to. உன்னை அறிந்தால் நீ உன்னை அறிந்தால் உலகத்தில் போராடலாம்.
Very, very true.
Yeah?
Very, very true. You know, I have interviewed a lot of people for jobs during my time at Pfizer, and a lot of people like to say, I'm a perfectionist. I'm my own worst enemy. I'm a perfectionist. I'm like, that's not true. Very few people are perfectionists. If every candidate I interview says I'm a perfectionist and they say how I help other people, you know, that just tells me that they don't know themselves. Okay. And when they will say they are a perfectionist and I look at their resume, it is sloppy, it is poorly written, a lot of spelling mistakes. And I'm like, where was your perfectionism when you put together this resume, right? But anyway, so you need to know, you have to have an honest self-appraisal of what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are you good at, and how can you leverage that in getting the right job. Okay. And the next thing, there are three elements about knowing yourself. The first is a self-assessment. Second is feedback. You have to ask people that you trust to tell you about yourself. They have to tell you what they think. What is their opinion of you? What do they think are your strengths and what do they think are your weaknesses? These are the people you trust, okay, to tell you the truth. Not someone who says, oh, you're great, oh, you're so skilled. No, you don't want to hear that. That doesn't help you. You want them to be as truthful to you as you would, about yourself. Okay. So, and these are not people that you suddenly meet casually somewhere and say, now, for example, you know Rajini knows me well enough and she can tell you what my strengths and weaknesses are. But if I have met somebody like Shri for the first time today, she's not going to be able to tell me what my strengths and weaknesses are. So asking her to tell me, what do you think I'm good at, is not good enough. Okay. So, and how do you go about getting a true picture of yourself? There is what is called 360 feedback. Why is it called 360 feedback? Because it starts with your own self assessment. That's one input. Then you go to your boss, your manager, and say, tell me about me. Okay. This can be done completely informally and completely, like there is no, you don't know who gave you what feedback, but you have all of this feedback. Okay. You go to your customers, you go to your peers, you go to your superiors. Okay. You go to your subordinates, you ask all of them to tell you about you. You have a certain set of questions, and they put, fill out the answers for those questions. And based on that feedback, you realize, oh, you have some blind spots. I thought I was so good at this, and they're telling me, no, I'm not good enough. I need to improve. Okay, so your own assessment of yourself is different from how everybody else sees you. Okay, so that's an important feedback, important input for you to know where you need to work on, where you need to improve. Okay, and the third thing element is mentoring, and this is what this whole session is all about, where you seek help from people that you respect. Okay, these are people that are very good at what they do, or they have several years of experience, they are very wise, and sometimes they may be younger than you. Okay, so you can seek advice from any number of sources. They can be your grandparents, your parents, your siblings, your friends, your work colleagues, your boss. Okay, so seek help, seek input and get the help that you need. They might guide you on. Okay, so you have a, maybe you go to your mentor and say, I want to go to my boss and ask for a pay raise. Okay, what I'm making is not appropriate for what I do, and I want to ask my boss, please, can you consider giving me a pay raise? How do you go about with that conversation? So maybe you can go have a chat with your mentor and say, how do you think I should present myself? How do you think this conversation should go? Okay, so these are the things where situations where you can get help from your mentor. Okay, so, and this self assessment, this feedback and mentoring, these are ongoing processes. These are not one time you do this and that's it, you're done with it, because you're growing in your job. You are experiencing different things and you're getting smarter or you're getting wiser. Okay, so at several stages in your life, you need to try to gain this feedback and also improve yourself, understand where have you addressed some of the shortcomings that were identified from an earlier 360 feedback, and what do you need to work on now. Okay, so the other topic I wanted to talk about was job versus career. A job is where you go to the office, you do your work that the boss tells you to do, you do a good job, your boss is happy with you, you're happy, you go home, you get a salary, you get your pay at the end of the month. Okay, everything is good, you have satisfied your need to earn money, and your boss is happy with your work. You continue to do this, and that's your job, right? But there are people who want to do more. There sometimes, it's not the job you want to do. This is not interesting to me. I'm not enjoying myself. I don't feel challenged. I have a lot more to offer, and yet I'm not getting that opportunity. Okay, and I here is what I see myself doing. This is going to be my career. I'm not going to be just going there and filing papers and coming home, or making photocopies and coming home, because that's what my boss wants me to do. I have a lot more to offer, and so I want a career. So this is where you're saying, how am I going to learn? How am I going to show my boss that I can do more than what they're asking me to do? Okay, so sometimes, you take on extra responsibilities. You go to your boss and say, can you give me some more challenging work to do? I can do what you're asking me to do, but I have time. I've finished everything that you're asking me to do, and I have extra time, and I would like to do more. I want to show that I'm capable of doing more. Okay, so this is where you show initiative, okay, and you do more. And also, what you have to remember is that you may have a passion to do something more than what you're currently doing, okay? But you also have to remember that there are risks in saying, I don't want to do this, I want to do something else, okay? So be careful, but at the same time, follow your heart. Your heart tells you, I want to do something different. How many times have you heard, musicians, artists, they'll say, I was doing this 9 to 5 job. I was bored and I knew I wanted to play music. I wanted to write music. I wanted to create something. And their parents are like, oh my God, you have a steady job now. Why are you going to leave that and do something that there is no guarantee of success? But that is what your heart wants you to do, right? And you follow your passion. But you have to remember that you have to marry passion with reason. In the sense, sometimes when you're following your passion, that may not give you the money that you need to have. Okay. So you have to say, if I want to give up everything that I have and follow my heart, follow my passion, there is a risk, financial risk to it. Okay. So keep that in mind. And always keep learning. When you finish college, you enter the workforce, there is no learning anymore other than just know how to do your job. You have to actively learn. You have to actively go talk to someone who knows more and say, can you talk to me about this? There was a girl in IKKT in Chennai, and she said, I would love to
Mhm.
learn about this, but that's not my job, but I'm very interested in learning. I said, what is wrong in going and talking to that person who is so knowledgeable? Just go talk to him and say, listen, I know this is not part of my job, but I want to know more about it. Can you spend some time? Can we have lunch together? And you tell me about what you do. I'm interested in learning. It can be very informal. It is not like you're carrying a big textbook and you are going to be studying it on your own. You're having interactions, and people that you approach may be excited to teach you a thing or two. you know so keep that in mind. So always learn.
Just a thought, Uma. Just a thought. So when you're talking about reaching out to people for a learning purpose, you know about our culture here. Many are. I won't say many. A few are are very inhibited, and a few are also inhibited to offer that help. And because of the culture that is existing, they feel very worried about what will happen if I go and ask him or her for help. So that stops people from moving forward. And so, what is your advice on tackling this particular inhibition that I have, which has been provided to me by my culture? And look at her, what is she trying to do? To be very honest, I really don't know if we have matured to that extent that if somebody is reaching out to us, um, we are able to make time for them. I know from the from where you're coming from, because I know, having worked in Pfizer, this kind of mentoring was very naturally happening all over that place because of leaders like you, and there are so many other good leaders who created that culture for us. So how do you think, of course, in my organization, I am definitely being very conscious of this culture to enable men and women to reach out to ask for help, ask, what they want to learn from the expert. But what is your advice? Because this group has many, many young kids. You also have children who just passed out of college. This group, this particular viewership has a very young workforce, young talent. So
Yeah.
what is your advice to them? How to break this inhibition, Uma?
Okay. So Rajni, thank you for the question. So what I do want to say is that the example I gave you was actually in Chennai. Okay. It was a young woman that I used to, talk a lot to and try to mentor. she's the one who approached me and she said, I want to learn about that, that particular topic, right? And the person that I asked her to approach is a man. Okay. So she said, how am I going to ask him? I said, he's a decent person. He would love to teach you. He is not going to be filled with ego or why are you asking me? I don't have time. He's not the kind of person. So you need to know who you're approaching, how they may interpret your need for knowledge. Okay. And there are always good people everywhere, right? There are some who are always looking for an ulterior motive. They're always looking for somewhere to put you down. But there are also some very good people. So the young people that are in the audience today, I want them to know that you need to be able to assess who you are talking to. You need to be able to understand that there are some people who are willing to help you, and if you don't ask, you are never going to get it, right? You may have that desire, but if you never speak up, you have never fulfilled your desire. So be careful how you approach people, but at the same time, don't keep your mouth shut all the time. Maybe there may be one or two missteps. Maybe you asked the wrong person, but then you say, okay, I made a mistake. I realized what I did wrong, and I'm going to do it right the next time around. Okay. So we will never advance. There are good people in the world, so please feel free to talk to them. And this kind of forum that Rajni is organizing, these are the forum where you can wake up and say, hey, I have a lot of strength in me, but I never use it. Okay. And then you can also say, I have something to offer to other people. Maybe I will mentor somebody else. I have a young brother, young sister. I have a neighborhood child that could use some help. Maybe I will do something. In this day and age, you're seeing 14-year-olds talking about global climate change. Okay. Malala Yousaf in Pakistan, she fought the Taliban, right? So you have to know that you have it in you. You just have to give it voice. Okay. So be courageous. Be courageous. Do not always wonder what are they going to think about it? How are they going to look at me from now on if I ask for this help? No. If you keep doubting yourself, you're never going to make that first step. Okay. So it's important for you to have self-confidence, not misplaced confidence, but self-confidence.
Right.
Okay. All right. So we're coming to the, we have we've spent about half hour now. We're into the second half hour. So the third set of slides that I want to talk about is honing your skills. What does honing your skills mean? Is taking advantage of the skills you already have, okay? Making them sharper. That is, so if you are good at writing, let us say, how do you improve your writing skills? How do you develop it further? Okay, if you are good at a debate, if you're good in debate, if you can stand up and talk and put your case forward, make the arguments in your favor, how do you do that? How do you encourage yourself to do more of it? Okay, that is taking your skills and sharpening them. Okay, so some people have a lot of confidence. Okay, sometimes that confidence is misplaced. That is, rumba, overconfident, that's what it is, where there is really no basis for that confidence. But a lot of people lack confidence. It's very, very important that I can do this. So, and the way we are raised also makes a big difference. சும்மாரு நீ எதிர்த்து பேசாதே உன்னோட வேலையை பார்த்துட்டு these are sometimes they just shut you up. if you say, why do I have to do this? What, you know, நான் சொல்றேன் நீ செய், அதுக்கு மேல பதில் you know, எழுத்து பேசாதே, you know, that kind of an attitude. So then you don't get the answers that you're looking for, right? So the way you are raised is very important. So here is where I want to tell you, the way you raise your children, be aware, okay? Do not discourage them, okay? So, and if you see somebody else putting somebody else down, you know, mattam thatti pesradhu, you know, say something about it. You know, that's not the way to talk to a person, young or old, it doesn't matter. Everybody has got that, you know, that soul in them. So do not insult people unnecessarily. Okay. So that confidence is very, very important. And again, you know, where do you gain the confidence if you don't have it? This is where having a mentor is important. You say, எனக்கு தைரியம் இல்லை, எனக்கு தன்னம்பிக்கை இல்லை, what shall I do? Then you engage in a conversation with your mentor and you go over what you want to say to your boss, let us say, and they will help you frame the conversation. Okay. And networking is very, very important. In the Mari, this all ladies league, how do you learn from each other? How do you strengthen your own skills? How do you help others? So networking is very important. Okay. This gives you a sense of identity sometimes, especially when you are in an environment, you know, there's nobody to encourage you, nobody to even want to talk to you about how was your day at work, what did you do, did you have a good day? If nobody asks you anything, you come home, you're immediately taking care of your family. You have to start cooking or cleaning or take care of the children, their homework, all of that. So the networking, the friendship you make through these kinds of channels, that's very important. That may be your only source of encouragement. Okay? And how do you communicate? Many times people don't know how to communicate. Communication is a skill. You go to your boss and you want to talk to your boss. How do you say what you want to say with confidence? When you communicate, how do you look at them and speak to them and not look at some table, look down and talk to them? That doesn't help. That shows lack of confidence. So communicating is very important. Even in these all ladies league, you may want to say, I want to talk about something of my personal experience. Rajini, will you give me a chance for me to speak for a couple of minutes? That may be a way for you to, express what's in your mind, okay? And gain confidence in being able to communicate your thoughts to the other person. And responsibility. You want a job that shows your skill set, and the job that you're doing may not be the one where you can show what you can do. So you go to your boss and say, can you give me something more to do? I can do this. For example, Rajini is doing this mentoring, right? Nobody asked her to do this mentoring. Nobody asked her to, form this all ladies league, be the chair. Nobody asked her to do it. She's doing it because of her passion. It's not part of her job, but she's doing it because she believes in it. So there are ways for you to show your strengths. There are ways for you to shine and say, I can do more than what I'm asked to do. And when we say we want a challenging job, we want to make sure that we are ready for it. Okay. So sometimes you say, oh, I don't think I'm happy with what I'm doing. But you have to also remember that when you have a more challenging job, that can test your skills. Okay. So you need to be ready for it before you ask for something more challenging. And I also want to say this, we all want to grow in our jobs. We want our jobs to be more fulfilling. We want our jobs where, for example, when I started at Warren Lambert Company, I started as an associate scientist, okay, working in research and development. And that was a job that was almost like an entry-level job, okay? And by the time I finished my career, because Warner Lambert got acquired by Pfizer in the middle of my career, middle of my, in 2000, I became part of Pfizer. And when I retired, I was in a much different job, much bigger responsibility, right? But it didn't happen overnight. It happened over a course of several years. And I had to prove myself along the way. You know, they give you a job not because you can do the job, but with the promise that you can do the job. Because let us say you get promoted from your current job to your next job. The next job, you have never done it, but your boss needs to see that so and so is capable of doing that job. Okay, so you need to show that you can do more than what you currently can are asked to do, and do it well. Okay, and for example, you're all in manufacturing, right? Most of you, this group is mostly in manufacturing. So let us say that there are 20 operators, okay, and there is one leader, one supervisor. Now each operator may say, I want that supervisor's job. I don't want to be an operator forever. I want that supervisor's job. Now there are 20 of you and there is one supervisor job. So if all 20 want that one job, that's impossible, right? So your company cannot promote all 20 of you. But because you didn't get promoted doesn't mean you were not qualified to do the job. Maybe you are a very good operator. Maybe you're fantastic at what you do. And that is what your skill set is. And they may not promote you, but that doesn't mean that's the end of the line. You can look for other opportunities within the company, okay? And here is again where a mentor will help you show the connections, okay? Do you empower yourself to seek challenges? And, so there are a couple more things, and you can see in the slide deck that Rajani will share with you. So I just want to conclude this by saying that COVID has really created a lot of havoc for all of us, right? And, in India especially, because a lot of women are in the service industry, and service industry has been, seriously impacted as a result of COVID, a lot of women are home without a job, okay? And also, some women who have jobs have decided that they want to stay home because now they have to teach their children at home. They have to do remote learning. And for them, it is not an option. Or they have young children that they used to send to a daycare. Now, that daycare is not an option. Until everybody is vaccinated, you have to keep your children at home. So a lot of women have decided that they want to stay home. This can affect your future careers, but keep in mind that whatever decision you take, you're doing it for the right reason. And keep learning, keep continuing to learn, and don't be discouraged by people making remarks about you, whether it is a parent or a husband or a brother who puts you down. Believe in yourself. It's very important for you to believe in yourself so that you can rise up above all these things and say, I'm capable, I can do this. Okay? So with that, I want to stop and open it up to questions if you have any.
Yes, we have a host of questions here, Uma.
Okay.
They-
Did these come from the audience?
Yes, yes, we have a group which is very actively participating over the YouTube. And what they can do is they can type the questions, and then one of us can. I will ask Sri to read out the questions for you, and then we'll take it one by one. I can see about half a dozen questions already typed out on the comment session.
Okay.
So, Sri, can you take one by one? Can you come on the screen and do it, please?
Oh, yes. So we have a question from Ms. Nitya Srilaya.
Okay.
So her question is, what is the required mindset and skill set for women working in manufacturing?
I don't know if there is like a prescribed
special one.
mindset or a skill set for women working in manufacturing. So what you have to remember is that typically manufacturing is something that men are normally recruited for. And even in the pharmaceutical industry, you find women in packaging line, okay, where they're sitting there and packaging a product. So for example, if you take tablets get filled into bottles and then they get put into cartons, okay, then there is a label. All of these activities are handled by women typically. But when it comes to very difficult manufacturing jobs where you have to, let's say, lift something and add it into a reactor or set up a machine, a complicated machine, typically these jobs are not given to women, okay? But over a period of time, women have shown that they are capable of doing these things, okay? So the so Nitya, you were asking about the mindset and the skill set. Skill set is something you acquire depending on the kind of industry you're working in. So my experience is with the pharmaceutical industry, where you are setting up a capsule filling machine, a tablet filling machine, or an ointment mixer, or a reaction vessel. You know, I have seen, as I traveled across the world in various plants at Pfizer, there are a lot of women in operator position and also in supervisory position. There are women who will be supervising 100 operators, okay, and they are their boss, okay. So so women can show with their skill, with their determination. Sure, in some instances, they say we can't put women in manufacturing because we work 3 shifts and it's a rotating shift. Okay. So say maybe like for 1 month you are in the day shift, next month you go on the evening shift, and the following month you're on the night shift. So they say we can't ask these women to work the night shift. It is
And
not.
also in India, Uma, we have a lot of regulatory concerns.
Yeah.
So there is a long waiting period before we can put our women on the night shifts.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as
Yeah.
turning on the night shifts for men.
Yeah.
We have to get a lot of regulatory authorization.
Yeah.
As a HR, Dr. Reddy's laboratory, they were the first ones to go for night shifts for women.
Mhm.
And my friend in Dr. Reddy's was telling me she had to wait for 12 months before she got the approval from the government.
Yeah.
And because at any given point in time, in any night shift, we need about 100 women to be working at the same time in one floor.
Yes. Yes.
In one floor within a certain square foot.
Right.
You need a certain number.
Yeah.
And so if it's 100 as far
Yeah.
as India is concerned, especially pharma is concerned, it's about 100. So
Yeah.
that has been a very, what do I say? It's been a very discouraging factor.
Yeah.
And many leaders are not going forward to do those compliance work because it is sucking a lot of time and effort and money as well. In this kind
Bureaucracy.
of work.
Yeah. So, and in the Western world, you find women in positions that are typically occupied by men because they have the independence. They have a car that they can drive to work. Whereas in countries like India, I worked in a lot of Southeast Asian countries where there is a company bus that takes you back and forth, right? And we don't know if that is available at the night session. We don't know how safe it is for women to be outside. Even when I used to travel to all these countries, if my quality leaders were women and they were staying late, I would say, how are you going to get home? If we go out for dinner, I'll say, are you going to be safe getting home? You know, do you feel protected? I don't want you to join the dinner if you have to, take a chance. If you have to go stand at a bus stop late at night, it's not worth that risk. Okay, so it's important. But, it all depends on your personal situation, Nitya, about the skill set and the mindset. It's your strength. It is what you want and also what the environment will allow. As Rajini pointed out, there are restrictions on hiring women in the night shift. And many times that becomes a stumbling block for women to advance their career in manufacturing. But if you have a very enterprising company where the boss is able to think outside the box, or where you have only one shift, you know, sure, why can't you be in manufacturing, and why can't you advance in manufacturing? Why can't you be the manager? Why can't you be the supervisor? Certainly, there is no restriction. Okay. So, what's the next question, Sri?
Oh, yes. So the next question is, with artificial intelligence taking over manufacturing industry, the opportunities for men is gradually declining. So how women employees can look for more sustainability and growth opportunity?
Well, I'm
But tell the name of the person.
I'm no expert
who
on
was correct.
Yeah,
artificial
sorry. The
intelligence.
question is from Manisha.
Manisha, okay, thank you. First of all, I'm not an expert on artificial intelligence. I probably know as much as you guys do about artificial intelligence. What artificial intelligence does is not necessarily taking away manufacturing jobs. Artificial intelligence helps make decisions. Okay, so you have 10,000 pieces of data. How does a human being look at 10,000 pieces of data and draw a conclusion? This is where computers are taught, they're trained to look at an enormous amount of data and see patterns in them and see what is the commonality, what is the conclusion. Okay, so artificial intelligence is more towards decision making, okay, rather than about taking away jobs. Jobs are being lost to automation, not artificial intelligence, to automation, to robots, okay? But then there are, this is a common concern about, are we going to lose our jobs because they are now being automated, you know? And this is where you need to be constantly looking at your skill set and say, if I lose this job, what will I do? And you don't wait for your boss to come and say, I have bad news for you guys. We have to let you all go because we just brought this machine that is going to do the job of 10 people. We don't need you. Don't wait for that. You are seeing what is happening. You're seeing what the trend is. So, what can I do to improve my skill set or change the way I think I should be looking at my job, or learn something completely different, like IT, like programming, like anything, okay? Excuse me, that allows you to expand your skill set so that you don't become irrelevant, okay? That what you can do is no longer needed, okay? And again, men and women, you know, you shouldn't assume that manufacturing jobs are only for men. They're available for everybody, okay? So it depends on whether you're more skilled than a man who's applying for the same job. So don't rule yourself out in because the man is going to get the job. This is where you need to change the mindset of the people who are making those decisions. Okay. Excuse me, I'm going to go grab some water. I'm sorry. Just give me a second.
No problem. Please, please.
Okay. Back here. So I hope I answered Manisha's question.
Welcome back, Uma.
Thank you.
So
There's
I have
another important
from
question
Ms.
here.
Saranya.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Sri, I would like to present this question to Uma. It's very pertinent, and I thought Uma will be in a position to give a fantastic support to this girl. So this is from Kiran Mai, and she says, "Madam, as you said, I generally have the habit of asking the people I believe in their perspective about me, but some say it's not needed to know about yourself from others." So they say
My
that
goodness.
feedback from others is important. Yeah. What is your thought about it, madam? She's asking you. Kiran, mind.
Feedback from others is not what?
So they say that whenever
What
she's
is
It's
asking
not
for a
required.
feedback,
no, I
they
understand
say
that.
that it's
But
not
what was
required.
okay? That
They say it's not needed to
yeah,
know. You don't have to
no,
know.
yeah. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard. Feedback is important. For example, when as I said, my first 18 years of my work life were with Warner Lambert. Then in 2000, we got acquired by Pfizer. And in Warner Lambert, we had a very rigorous feedback performance system. Okay. It had to get done. And if your boss did not give you your feedback, yearly feedback, then they did not get their pay raise. The company held back their merit increase if they had not done what they needed to do for their subordinates. Okay, so we truly believed in that. And when we became part of Pfizer, there was no such thing. My boss would call me into his office, and on a little piece of paper, he'll say, "This is your merit increase, this is your bonus. Here." I'm like, whoa,
Merit increase is increment. Merit increase is increment.
yeah. So I'm like, there's no discussion about what am I doing right? What am I not doing right? Where can I improve? Nothing. So, I was in a shock. And so I asked some of my colleagues, I said, why don't I get feedback? What? Oh, you will hear, if you're not doing a good job, you will hear about it. So if you don't get any feedback, that means you're doing okay. I'm like, what kind of a feedback is that? Because you work hard, you put your entire heart and soul in your job. Okay, you do more than what you're asked to do, and you spend so much of your waking hours at work trying to do a good job, but you could be doing something that is totally valueless, that has no meaning to the person, you know and but in the meantime you think you're doing a good job. So that feedback is so important from your boss. Your boss may be talking to your customers and say, hey, how is Uma doing? Is she doing, is she adding value to you? Especially because I was in quality, my partners were in manufacturing, my partners were in supply chain. When I say partners, you know, if we didn't release the product in quality, supply chain is going to be very upset. If we didn't release the materials, production is going to be very upset. Okay. So these were the people that I needed to satisfy. So my boss can go and talk to the head of manufacturing, the head of supply chain, and say, how is she performing? Are you happy? Right? And he can gain all that feedback from various people, and he can tell me, you're not responsive, you're not communicating, you're too slow. He can tell me all these things if those were the facts. And then I know where I needed to improve. So feedback is extremely important. Okay? Feedback is important from your subordinates. You can go ask your subordinates. So can you tell me, what do you think I'm doing right? And where do you think I need to improve? If your subordinate is being honest, they'll say, and if this is true, they'll say, you're difficult to approach. You say, I can come and talk to you anytime, but every time I come and try to talk to you, you're too busy. You say, not now, another time. Okay? So these are things that you sometimes don't realize you're doing, but somebody has to tell you. We always think we're so good. I have a good heart. I always help people. No. Somebody else may say, what about that person on the street who's begging? What are you doing for that person? So the thing that what we think about us as ourselves, how we see ourselves, may be completely different from how others see us. So feedback is extremely important. Is that Manisha who asked that question? Who was that?
No, this
No,
is Kiran.
Kiran. So Kiran, please ignore what that other person told you. Feedback is important. Go talk to someone who has got more sense. Okay? And ask
So,
for feedback from them.
Sure. Two important questions have come across, Uma. I think these are very relevant for these women here who are on the thing. One Shalini is asking, how do I balance home and work? I know Shalini, she's my team member, and she has a small baby, and she also has to come to work, and there's an expectation both at
Yes.
work as well as at
Yes.
office.
Yes.
So she wants to know from you how she can balance her work and family life and be good in both the places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Shalini, you're asking a question for which there is no ready answer. Okay. Everybody's home life is different, and the expectations are also different. And in traditional families, I know in India, they look at a working woman as, okay, she's escaping her responsibilities at home and she's away. So when she comes back, when she comes home in the evening, here, take your child, do this, do that, so there's no rest for you. Okay. Because they think the 8 hours you spend in the office, you just did that to escape the responsibilities at home. And it's a difficult situation. You need to make sure your husband understands. Okay, your husband understands what you're going through. You need a partner at home. You need someone who understands, who with who you're able to talk freely and say, listen, you go to the office and I go to the office too. We both are away from home for a certain number of hours, and when we come home, you sit in the chair, read the newspaper, or you watch TV. Meanwhile, I'm taking care of the child, I'm cooking dinner, I'm cleaning. Where are you during this time? Why aren't you with me? Okay, it's important for you to make sure your husband understands your situation and he's your true partner, not just a husband who expects to be served. Okay, and who thinks that you are there to, because you're the mother, you have to take care of the child. No, it has to be a joint effort. Okay, sometimes it is easy to talk about this than actually get it done. It depends on the personality, and it depends on you. It depends on your confidence to be able to talk about this, not in a combative way, but in a way that he's able to understand. Okay, so it is not going to be easy. I can tell you that. I know when I was working, I was doing everything. I was taking care of the kids, I was taking care of the house, I was doing the shopping, I was doing the cooking, the cleaning, going to work. Luckily, I didn't pay any attention to my children's homework because I had told them, listen, when I grew up, my parents were not sitting with me checking to see if I did my homework. So this education is for you. You get your homework done. I'm not going to see what the teacher asked you to do. If you have any questions, come to me. Otherwise, I don't have the time. Okay. So I was fortunate that my kids were are both intelligent children, didn't need my help. But if I had been in that situation, it would have been very tough for me because I just didn't have the time. But nowadays, parents tend to baby their children, because they have one or two children and they want to do everything for them. So teach your child also to be a little bit more, don't baby them more than they have to. Okay, teach them responsibility. Teach your husband responsibility. It's sad to say, but most men are raised by their mothers to be babies, to be dependent on their mother until they get married. And the moment they get married, they're dependent on their wife. Okay. It's unfortunate. That is the culture, prevailing culture in India. I'm not saying it is true of every situation, but it is true of most of the situations. Sometimes women bring it upon themselves. And if you have a son, Shalini, make sure he's not going to be
She has
holding
a
on to you.
daughter.
You have a daughter,
She has
but
a daughter.
when you do have a son, make sure you don't make him dependent on you. He has to have equal responsibility, equal, chores in the house to do. He has to pick up after himself. Don't baby him. Don't make him a macho man that he thinks some woman is always going to pick up after him and he doesn't have to do any of the jobs at home. Unfortunately, I don't have a formula for you, Shalini. I'm so sorry, but you have to understand your environment and make it work for you, and make sure your husband is a true partner there. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Uma. The
Yes.
last question is from Rohini. She
Okay.
also has a point there, and I'm sure you've come across a situation earlier, Uma, where she says, Rohini Rachel says, how do we move forward when everyone is telling us that a particular idea will not work? People are shunning away my idea. How do I manage that situation?
Right. Right. Well, it's a tough question. What that idea is, you know, I don't know what the idea is, and how you go about, you really, Rohini, you really throw a curveball. I just cannot come up with a good answer. You have to find a way to test your hypothesis, your idea, and see, is it going to work? If people are going to say it is not going to work, can you demonstrate to them how it is going to work? Is that possible? Can you can you find someone who's more willing to listen to you and say, you know maybe you have some, maybe you have a plan, maybe you can try this out. I just don't know what your environment is, what your idea is. And I'm not asking you to tell me what your idea is. I'm just saying, it is, you just have to seek the right person where you can bounce your idea with that person and have a discussion, and try to demonstrate that their interpretation is not correct. Make sure you can actually show that the idea is workable, whatever that idea is. I just don't know what the limitations are, whether you can actually show that it is a valid idea, that it is something that can actually be executed. Uh, when you say everybody you talk to says it's not good, it's not viable, maybe you are asking the wrong people. Maybe you need to find someone that is willing to give you, a patient listening, and be able to tell you, and even show you that your idea is probably not a good one, but at least give you a time to listen to your idea and give you the pros and cons of whether it can or cannot work. Maybe your idea needs to be further developed. Okay, so I'm truly sorry that I cannot give you any more answer than what I've just given you. Okay, I
So
hope.
if I could just add to your point, Uma, is why should we always listen to others for a certificate of approval? Why should we always reach out? Now, if you believe in your idea, I think you have already talked about it. Believe in yourself, make a thorough self evaluation, see if your idea will work, discuss the pros and cons with the most trusted and a confidant that you can find at workplace or in your family. And I think doesn't matter if it fails.
Yeah, yeah,
Like failure is it has more lessons to teach than success itself.
yes,
That's what, when you listen to very big leaders across the world, this is one thing I have learned. Every time I failed, I bounced back with a very big success. This is my personal experience. Every time I thought I failed, I bounced back. And
yeah,
there were enormous learning in every failure. So, Rohini, I think you should be your judge. You should be your best friend sometimes, and lock yourself up and start understanding what you want to do and just pursue your dreams, fearlessly is what I will say. And then
yeah,
the universe will start to conspire to help you to achieve your dreams.
yep. so
That's my,
so
and all that you need to do is bold. Bold. You need to be bold.
you guys have heard the story of the guy who came up with a very inexpensive sanitary pad in India, right? People were thinking
Yeah.
he's some kind of a crazy guy. What does he know about women's menstruation? What does he know about a pad? Even his wife thought he was some kind of a pervert. you know, because he needed somewhere where he could test out his sanitary pad, how effective it was. She actually got separated from him because he was, she felt embarrassed that this is what he was going to do. So there's actually a documentary about this person. And but persisted he persisted in his idea. He knew it was going to work. It was a very cheap alternative to what women were currently using in India, you know and eventually his wife understood that he was really trying to come up with a solution for the good of women in India. And eventually she came back, and they live together now. But he went through a lot of ridicule and he spent a lot of time, many years perfecting the technique.
There was a movie
So
that has been taken after this particular
exactly,
story.
I think it's
It's called
called a
Pac-Man.
Padman. So those are all inspiring stories. Now your idea may not be as big as something like that, but if you truly believe in it, as Rajini pointed out, go try it out. You don't need anybody else's endorsement. But if you've got an idea that requires money, somebody to invest in it, then you definitely have to sell it and convince the person that they have to put the money into your idea to make it work. Okay? So don't lose hope, don't lose heart, keep at it. Good luck to
And I
you.
also would like to, adding to your point, Uma, is fear is more dangerous than a failure.
The fear of failure.
Fear of the unknown, fear of failure is more dangerous than the failure itself. And
Exactly.
when we don't know, the fear of the unknown is much more dangerous.
Yeah.
When we don't even know what we are scared of.
Yep.
So, one final question, if you can take, Uma, there is this girl, Ragavi Manalan, Manavalan, okay? She
Okay.
says, Ragavi is asking you, a lot of people organizations have promised to increase workforce, women workforce. But why is it not happening? Or what is the thought process that is stopping them from going ahead with women in the workforce?
Well, the decision makers
That's the
traditionally
last
are,
question.
yeah. So Raghavi, the decision makers as to who to hire are typically men, right? And unless the government imposes a quota, you know, if the government says you have 100 employees in your company, we want to see at least 30% of them are women. That's the mandate from the government. There's no incentive for the company to hire more women. Okay, so that's the problem. So all these changes have to be imposed on companies. Now there are some leaders who are more emancipated than others, who are able to think that having women in the workforce is actually good. 50% of the world population is women, right? And yet, in India right now, there are only 7% of workforce that is women, which is a shame. Part of it is that women also don't think of themselves as, a lot of women don't want to go out and work. Some women feel the job is just a job. I'll just go do it, and then that's the end of it. I come home because I've got so many other responsibilities. The the framework in India is not conducive for women to work. And sometimes, your boss may need you to stay 2 more hours to, let's say, some client wants some order fulfilled in a short period of time, and they need you to work overtime. You may say, I can't do that because I have to catch the company bus. I have to pick up my child from the daycare center. I can't do that. So there are restrictions on your own ability to be flexible. And so companies feel that they have to deal with a lot more problems bringing more women into the workforce than it's worth their time. As Rajini pointed out, it took a year for Dr. Reddy's to bring women into the night shift. Okay, so there are a lot of obstacles and not enough incentive for bosses to bring more women. This is where how you present yourself during an interview is very important. Okay, how you show self-confidence is very important. This is where women have to show. And also, um, Raghavi, let us say that you become a manager tomorrow. Are you going to make sure you bring more women into the workforce because now you have the authority to hire women, to hire, to fill positions? So when I went to Japan for the first time, I didn't find a single woman manager in our manufacturing facility there. Every manager, and there were so many of them, was a guy. So I asked my quality leader, I said, what happened? Where are the women? Oh, we can't find qualified people to be promoted to managers. I said, I don't buy that. I don't want you to promote a woman just to promote a woman, but I'm sure you have plenty of good, talented young women in the workforce, in supervisory positions, in operator positions that are worth taking a chance on. So by the time I come here next time, I want to see women in managerial positions. You sometimes you have to convince them. Sometimes you have to change the way they think. Okay. Same thing happened when I came to IKKT. Other than Rajini and one other individual, there were no managers. I said, what is wrong with this situation? And
IKKT is Irungattukottai.
yeah,
IKKT is Irungattukottai.
yeah. And sometimes women choose not to be in responsible positions. They don't want, you know, they don't want to, fight the men in the workforce. Okay. So they self-select themselves out of jobs. They don't apply for jobs. When I was in China, same thing happened. There was a QA manager position open, and I wanted to promote this young woman who has a lot of potential to that role. Whereas the plant manager said he wants to hire somebody from outside. Okay. So I said, why would you want to hire somebody from outside with we have no knowledge about their skill set, whereas you have this young woman who's got the talent, who's got the capabilities. So he said, oh, you don't understand. Women in China, they don't want to be in positions where they may not be successful. They would rather do a good job in their current role than be in a position where they may fail. I said, I want to promote her and I'm going to make sure she doesn't fail. I'll be there to support her. And I will take it as my challenge. And if she doesn't do a good job, I'll be happy to come and tell you that I made a mistake. But I want to see her promoted. And she was promoted. And she did a damn good job. So many times it is a matter of convincing and also having a champion, having someone who speaks on behalf of women. Okay. It is going to be a very slow process in India, but it has to happen. And I hope it happens by grassroots, by people like Rajini, who believe in the power of women, who are able to bring women up, who are able to support them. Okay, so it's very important that women support each other. Okay, so I hope I've answered your question, Raghavi.
Yes, thank you, Uma. I think the first step for success is to even be part of this, this talk show, the fireside chat with you, Uma. For all the women who have participated, I think we have to give them a hip hip hooray because
Absolutely.
they have moved in the right direction. Because you are sitting in New Jersey now, and you have made time for us. Because I know that you just got out of a very bad illness. You were not well, and we had to postpone the program from 12th to 19th of March. And I have no words to thank you, Uma. To be very frank, I really don't know how to thank you,
No,
because I know that I've seen you at in the plant. I know how much travel you did, left, right, and center. You will just land up from US in the morning, just go to ITC to freshen up, and then the next day 8:45 I see you come into the factory. My God, I think we. I mean, I had the great honor to work with you very closely. The lunchtime that I spent with you, all the one day I spent with you in ITC in your room, we talked about a lot of stuff, a lot of eye openers, Uma, and thank you so much for being here, for our women here, and touching base with a lot of women who are young, who are just starting off their careers, who are there mid-level, and like Shalini, who want a quick response and a quick answer to what do I do to manage my life and how do I be successful in both my worlds, which are equally important to me. I think it has been a brilliant conversation with you, and despite your health and everything, you've been there for us, and you've also promised to continue to help us and support us in the women in manufacturing sector of South India. And we have a lot of young kids who will be taking up responsible positions, as you rightly said. And thank you so much, and hugs from us from India to Yunga. Number way to Ponuka, we are sending all the hugs. And thanks to your daughter Rajini. Your daughter is also Rajini, and she shares my name. And thanks so much to Rajini for helping us in coordinating all this conversation. Please give her a big hug from all of us here in India.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so
Uma.
the
And
privilege,
yeah,
the
all
privilege is
of
all,
you.
yeah, the privilege is all mine. You don't know how happy I am to do this. So this is not something you need to thank me for. I'm really glad to see that there are young women in the workforce in India who want to advance, who want to learn more, who want to be more than what they are right now. So this is all very encouraging. And anytime I can be of any help, I'm happy to do that. And my daughter, by the way, she was the one who said, looked at my collection of points and she said, group these so that I wish she, and if she had an opportunity to do this, she would have done a better job than I could have or I have. But she's at work right now, so I'm glad to be part of this conversation. Thank you very much. And Sri, thank you for helping us with the session.
Thank you, Uma. Thank you so much. And thanks, Sri, and everybody else who has helped us to put this fireside chat together. And I want to thank Naveen, who's also another intern of mine from Bedra School of Social Work, who actually created the banner for
Okay.
this, the poster. The poster, I think he did a brilliant job. Thanks to Sri. Thanks to everyone. And thank you, Uma. See
All
you
right.
very soon.
Have a
Take
great day.
rest.
Have a
Take care
great
of
weekend.
yourself.
Have a great
Thank
weekend.
you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.